The meaning of life, well, at least according to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, is a number. But what gives meaning to anything is people and their stories. For 20 years, WiT has been welcoming people from all walks of travel, all corners of the globe, to our events. And in that time, lots of friendships and lots of memories have been made. To help us mark our coming of age, we asked our friends to tell us their stories about us, their first impressions, unforgettable moments on and off stage, and their lasting memories. Thank you for giving meaning to WiT.
My first day at a WiT conference was kind of shocking. In the morning there were a couple of sessions that I totally expected to see, and then all of a sudden there was a poetry competition, like Japanese haiku, which was a complete shock to me. I did enter, pretty good entry I thought, but I didn't win. A guy from Google won, which honestly I thought was a little suspicious, because how could you work at Google and be good at Japanese poetry? That didn't make any sense to me. The other thing I remember about that first day at the WiT conference was a Swedish guy giving a presentation about being a DJ, like a DJ at a club in Ibiza or wherever.
One ticket, please.
Naturally, I of course became the DJ of choice at school, and from 18 on I could support myself playing high school gigs. And you know, the career evolved, and for 10 years I did this 3 to 5 nights a week, playing the hippest and coolest nightclubs you could find in Sweden.
I just wanna dance the night away.
That was pretty wild. The haiku thing was crazy enough, but this really threw me. He was talking about beats per minute and changing the whole vibe on the dance floor and all that sort of stuff, and I'm thinking, where is this going? But then it did go somewhere. He started to relate it back to running a business and how you need to sometimes pivot, change the tone, whatever. And he made a really good connection between those two things, and it started to make a lot of sense for me. And I began to realize that I was learning things in a different way, that the WiT conference was approaching the challenges that the audience had and trying to find solutions with them in a way that other conferences maybe weren't doing. And I liked that a lot.
For entrepreneurs. So I drew from my experience as DJ for 10 years and club owners that I also was, and I thought a place maybe where creating was more important than competing. Florence for the new age in Africa, maybe. A place where everyone's safe to take risks, safe enough to be unsafe. A place where talent, capital, and ideas have sex.
I didn't really have time to go to a lot of industry events. And when I first went to WiT, I thought, oh, why am I doing this? I'm so busy, and I really don't want to be here.
Online seller of hotel rooms with probably the widest network of hotels in the Asia Pacific marketplace, and plenty of coverage as well outside of Asia. So we focus on our biggest strength is Asians traveling within the Asia Pacific region.
And it changed my whole attitude. I felt like there was this industry I didn't even know existed. People were super welcoming. There was just great conversations throughout the day and late into the evening. We were having a blast, and everybody was laughing in the audience. It was super engaging. We just had so much fun.
Come on, Rob. I will do a dance with you.
I thought you
I
would.
know that's Thai pop.
I thought you liked that song. You know that he sold more than 20 million albums, huh? But Tongchai, I mean, amazing. He sold more than 20 million albums. I don't know if you made more than 20 million when you sold Agoda.
How much do you make?
And so something that I just dreaded going to ended up being something that I loved, and I couldn't wait to go back the year later. So that was my really first experience with WiT.
I don't remember all of the specifics of my first WiT, but I do know that it had a big impression on me. I came to Asia not knowing that many people in the industry there, and I saw immediately how committed this group was to networking, to really connecting with each other and sharing the work that they were doing and wanting to hear about what I was working on. And the other big first impression was how the creative arts were incorporated into the conference. There was a lot of content and a lot of speakers, and people sat in the hall listening, and that was definitely unique.
But it was like this new conference, but for Asia, and very Singaporean, because it obviously had Singaporean WiT and humor, and it was done in a very efficient, classy way. I saw it grow in scale. I saw you get, not only the big boys of travel, the big gals of travel, but you also managed to always showcase in a very nice manner the young guns. So upstarts, startups, new companies coming up, which I think kept it alive. The conversations were great. I think you really curated them beautifully. So I really think it was special from the beginning, and I'm not surprised that you've done 2 decades and you're still growing. And I guess we've grown together. So that feels really nice. A sense of bonhomie is the word, yeah.
WiT has always believed in our mission of making travel better through technology. And we also really appreciate that WiT has always been a believer in the Asian story from Traveloka, a homegrown company from Asia.
Funnily enough, a lot of these investors are loyal customers of Traveloka, so they can relate as a user. But they truly believe in our strategy as well as our capability to execute.
And I just want to say thank you, and I just also want to say happy 20th anniversary to WiT.
The first time I saw the WiT stage in Singapore, it was a total eye opener. It reminded me of actually my days back in the classroom at the Harvard Business School that I attended. It was like a full of energy, passion, wisdom, ideas, learning, and a lot of laughter. And that same kind of a magic, but happening in the travel industry.
And it was just different. It had something I'd never experienced before. A sort of a cadence with the speakers and the management of the program. And I think because I've been to almost all of the WiTs, that over time I've seen this become refined, but it still hasn't changed this great sense of engagement from both sides of your brain. I think that has always been one of the things that always struck me about WiT.
In Asia, it's still, the number of people who travel per head of the population is still much lower than in Europe, and lower again than in the United States. So the propensity to travel, once fares reduce and average income increases, has yet to reach European levels here. And as I said, we're only halfway to where we're going to go in Europe. I foresee Ryanair getting to 350 million passengers before we...
The quality of the speakers were also very high. So
For example, you get people who are like, top people from like Ryanair or from like Expedia or from Booking.com that flew all the way down. Like I was very struck by that, oh my God, like people who are doing these amazing things in travel in, the other side of the world, they all came down for this conference. And the conversations that were had, the discussions that were had on stage were very frank. And I thought that added a lot of value. So it wasn't just, people talking about what they were doing and just in a very surface way. There was a lot of like insights on the industry. You meet a lot of people who are building like boutique hotels in like Thailand, boutique hotels in Japan. And you speak to them and you have these like very, very good in-depth conversations. And, they're like small operators and they're trying to do a lot of things with a lot of heart. And that's kind of what travel is to me, right? It's not, it's not about the big tech. I mean, that's a big side of it. But I really like how WiT brought out like the soul of travel. I think they're very integral to what travel is about and why people love travel. And I think WiT really brought out kind of the soul of travel at a conference.
And I remember the first time I went, it was just an incredibly exciting thing for me to see. Such an energetic event. I found this event it was not so much about acquiring customers, but really about building the network much stronger.
And we knew each other for, I think, ages, right? Yeah.
A long time, but the first time we shared a stage together was 2 years ago, this very stage.
Yeah.
So it's actually our anniversary.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And okay, I know we're not talking about that, but it was on sustainability, and that's one of my hot topics.
It is, and we'll get to that, I think, as we discuss our relationship in the industry and obviously our friendship here. And then joining Booking in 21, got to come back to WiT, and for me then to see again that same level of energy, much bigger event, but the same core group of people there driving it was super exciting for me also, and felt a bit like coming home. And I've been excited to come kind of follow the journey of the last few years.
I think what really struck me was the sense of community. And, normally at conferences, the reason why I don't like it is just very full of networking. It's, things are a little bit surfacey. And what really struck me about WiT was just a very strong sense of community. That's why I thought, wow, this is a community. It's not a conference. People are coming together because they really like WiT. They really like the organizers. They really like the people behind it. And they really like each other. And I think that makes a huge difference in terms of the quality of conversations that you have with people, because people are then not there just to, network, pass out name cards. They're there to actually like speak to you as with this genuine connection. And actually I came away, this is the only conference in my life that I came away making friends.
The community is very key, community and collaboration. The people who attended WiT during that time and over the years is what made it so special. It's almost like an inner circle that are filled with really smart and down-to-earth and also very fun people. I met tons and tons of contact from there, from all over the hospitality industry. And when I look back as well, it's almost surreal because some of the original founders of startup that has become unicorns and big companies, I met them at WiT.
Here, but in the near future, we'll be looking at Europe and US.
So 2 years old,
yeah,
and you're at 10 offices and 300 employees already. That's pretty good. That's very fast.
So I was coming into the online travel industry from a broad tech background. I knew a little bit about travel, having built travel stuff for Yahoo and having worked for Tourism Australia, a lifetime ago. But a lot was new to me, and I found WiT to be an incredibly, actually unusually open and sharing conference and group of attendees that really helped me to quickly get up the learning curve. And, many of the people I met at those first couple WiT, back in 2005, 6, 7, still in touch with and still learning from and sharing with today. For me, for WeGo, and I think for a lot of us in the online travel community, WiT has been a critical hub of community building, that has enabled us to not only build our businesses, but actually to build some long-lasting friendships.
I love to see how people react. And it's always fun to watch the first hour or two of WiT, to see the two types of people, those people who've been before, who at least understand what WiT is about, and those people who've come for the first time, no matter who they are. And it's funny because the veterans know that there will be deep thought required. Don't just come, listen, and open your laptop, basically because you can't. The newbies, they leave after the thing, and I see many of them do this, literally stunned, because your brain gets a real workout. So I've seen some people come away physically exhausted after a WiT because it really made them actually exert a lot of their blood flow, had to go back to the brain for them to think because they just were not expecting it.
Exhausted. It has been a stimulating, fascinating, overwhelming day.
First time that I joined WiT, which I believe was in 2006, the adjective that comes to mind is overwhelming. Almost like a wave of expertise and community that was crushing me and my co-founders. And that was partly because we were new to the travel industry and we were very early in our startup adventure. And it was a reminder that there was more for us to learn, but also more that we could do. I guess this sense of overwhelmingness was probably one of the first memories I have of WiT.
So I guess like the first time I was a WiT, I just remember it being an industry of like really a lot of people who were big names that I, as a startup, would not even have the opportunity to get a meeting with. But they were all like in the same room and they were all like kind of having coffee and talking to each other. And it was all very friendly. And I remember like approaching like people like Kathleen Tan and just introducing myself and, and having her shake my hand and letting her know how big of a fan I was of hers. Kind of really opened my eyes up into how the industry was like very close knit and how warm and friendly people were when given the opportunity to basically let their guards down and enjoy each other's company.
A wonderful man named Richard Banks, who ran a company, Mount Sobeck, who does these expeditions to faraway, remote places. He was talking about this story on why he loved his business and why he loved certain customers more, or some of his, passengers more than others. And he said he had this billionaire hedge fund manager from New York. They booked out a camp in Tanzania, and they flew there with their own private jet. And after one day, of course, this hedge fund manager was super bored and didn't want to be there anymore. So anyway, so he took the private jet for a spin, and the Tanzanian Air Force, because he just left without any forewarnings or anything. So the Tanzanian Air Force, they forced him down in Dar es Salaam, and there was this old drama around it, and the Mount Sobeck team, they needed to sort of try to get him out of all this trouble that he put himself into, and he said that was some of the bad experiences they had of doing this. The good experiences that he had was that Sting and Trudy, Sting from the police, and his wife Trudy, they had gone with them to the Amazon forest, and they were so impressed with what they learned when they were there. So they started this fund to raise awareness and money for preserving the Amazon forest. And I thought that was really a great story, and a little bit why we actually do the stuff we're doing. I remember early days of WiT when we had the boot camp and maybe 20-30 people came, and Glenn Fogel used to hang out at these WiT boot camps, and it was really just wonderful, and now he's this big shot, running the whole, Booking.com group. Great guy, of course. And I also remember very vividly Soo-hoon's one-on-one interview with him in Singapore, where he talked about his childhood and some of the problems that he had to overcome, and that made him the person he is.
Soo-hoon had organized a heavy meta panel, not heavy metal, heavy meta. And she had managed to coerce more than 10 of us, I think it was 12 in total, metas from around the planet, onto the same stage to participate in what is probably the biggest panel that's ever assembled at a travel conference. And there were so many people on stage, we were reduced to, we're given a paddle each to comment on the sort of like yes, no, for each of the questions. And a lot of those metas don't exist anymore, but it was definitely memorable.
Kind of an unforgettable moment was definitely when the idea for WiT Japan and North Asia was born. So it was around March or April 2011. That was actually right after the Great East Japan earthquake happened. The Soo-hoon she was planning to actually visit Tokyo in early May to meet with the Japan Tourism Ministry, to many the local companies to for us to get the support. But think about that context. So back then, Japan and Tokyo was still a mess, a total mess. And we basically asking her, so are you sure you still want to come to Tokyo next month in this kind of turmoil happening for all those meetings, but still, you want to actually come for these meetings or not? And then I remember without hesitation, she said, yes, I'm definitely coming. So these things, like natural disasters, everything happen everywhere. But the travel industry is resilient. It will always come back. I have always dreamed of bringing WiT to Japan. So this is a time for me to travel to Tokyo. Let's do it.
I was attending another conferences in Shanghai, and it was the historic old jazz bar in the historic Film Peace Hotel. So Soo-hoon and I were sitting each other at that over there, and there was playing jazz music, and we were talking about that. What if we make a WiT Seoul together? So my answer didn't took long. So my answer was, let's do it. But I realized that it was not that simple. It shouldn't be that simple answer. I realized that I have to prepare so many things. I have to think about so many things. But still, it's kind of a pride, the decade proud to me since 2016. Because I'm still proud that we brought such a wonderful event here in Korea.
There's a lot of music at a WiT conference. The conference starts with a big production number. There's usually some local Singapore talent. To energize in hands. Let the show begin. Next generation for the win. We're going all in. Take center stage now. Let's begin. Let's begin. On the next generation. You go to a conference in a place like Singapore, you wouldn't expect that you were going to see local musicians, dancers, etc. That's not what it's about. But at WiT
that part of the fabric of the show. And it works really well. It gets people in a good mood, and you want that at a conference. You want to network with people. You want them to be open. You want them to be happy, and the music really creates a vibe, a platform for people feeling really good, and that means you can do a lot of networking, and the conference is a happy place.
Remember when Soo Hoon brought those flowers? She had these flowers and she was passing them out. I thought that was quirky. I'd never seen that in a conference before. And that just made me sit back and think, well, that's different. And like any industry, it's big. We have high standards. And although the industry is open to outsiders, the industry wants to see what we can do. And so they looked at me and my co-founders with a little bit of skepticism. It wasn't just, we're so glad you're here. It was more like, hey, this is a great opportunity, but you're going to have to do the work. You're going to have to do something for this industry. And so it was not quite, I would say it was openness with high standards. That's something else that I remember.
I think this conference, we represent a number of people in the travel industry. There are a lot of experts, entrepreneurs that maybe can share with you some insights and some inspirations to help rejuvenate our industry in different ways. I think about what Galileo once wrote. He said that you cannot teach a man anything. You can only help him find it within himself. And maybe at WiT today and tomorrow, we can help you find it within yourselves to come up with the next great idea that can help us to rejuvenate our planet.
On the community side of WiT, there's two things, of course, that really stick out to me on the community side of WiT. The first is the generosity of WiT people. The annual fundraising events, charity auctions and so forth have shown the real spirit of people who work in the travel industry to contribute. I've got some great memories in my head of Richard Wiegman from the Trust organization breaking open a keg of sake with a hammer at one of the charity auctions, us putting senior executives up for sale with their time to raise money for charity. Lots of incredibly creative artworks on display, incredible experiences across the region for people to bid on, and the generosity and spirit of all those involved. And of course, I remember the comedy, the great debates where we get up there, in theory, to talk seriously about some issue dominating the mindset.
I actually confess that I'm not a big fan of humans. I prefer dogs. As our opponents are showing, humans are way too flawed. I'm currently living in the UK, which is living proof that a few sinister people can manipulate, using AI, social media feeds to get enough people to vote for a national act of self-harm and then vote in what must be the most incompetent government in any Western democracy in history.
So in the early 2000s, you could ignore Roger. I'm in a tunnel, Roger. Can't hear you, Roger. Sorry, call back. But from 2010 to 2020, technology was so good, communications worked perfectly, we had to learn to love Roger. We had to get with him in the office and spend time with Roger. Get to love and bond with Roger. We solved for a moment inter-office conflict through communication. And then came Zoom. And the mute button. Sorry, Roger, can't hear you. What were you saying about crunches and columns, Roger? You're on mute. Let's hear from Penny instead. We could have solved communications, wasted opportunity.
Where I just see it as a chance to let the stand-up comedian in me go wild in the travel industry as a great form of community building.
Post-event charity auction. I had a bit too much wine, and somehow I ended up bidding and winning the grand prize. So, and then I remember I texted Ruby, she's my partner, now wife. And, hey, I won an auction. And she immediately replied to me, how much did you spend? And I answered, and she followed the big message, basically OMG, right? So that's I mean, I have no regrets though. I mean, I got this beautiful art piece just right behind me now. It's been a great conversation starter, right? And a little bit expensive one too. So.
And maybe another of the unforgettable moment was a few years later, after Brand Karma had established some successful, I guess, track record in Asia. We threw a party, after WiT, and it was a party in which I think it was the second year in which WiT did auctions to basically donate to a charitable organization. And I remember we were just, as a team, organizing this. We just wanted it to be fun. We wanted it to be glamorous. We wanted it to be luxury. We wanted it to just thank everybody, in the industry for welcoming us in and have a good time. We had models, we had CEOs, we had, travel influencers. We took lots of pictures. And it was just a really beautiful night. And I think that night we raised quite a bit of money as well.
And I think also on a personal note, I think that WiT and my relationship with Soo-Hoon and the people that come to this conference actually made me the person to some degree who I am today, and also the entrepreneur that I am today. So I think I've actually become more myself than I was before, and the reason is because the environment is such that it allows people to be who they are. You're undressed from all this corporate bullshit, and really brings out the humanity in all of us. So
actually, WiT is unusual in that there's a sense of camaraderie amongst the participants, which a willingness to sort of hang out and sort of swap notes. It exceeds any other event that I go to. There's probably half a dozen travel tech related things I go to regularly, but WiT's definitely at a different level in terms of the community around it, and a lot of that, actually all of that, is really a function of the effort Soo-Hoon's put into building it and creating it. It doesn't happen by accident. It is curated.
What a journey it's been, from the first spark to first impressions and unforgettable moments. Thank you for sharing your stories with us. Here's to making new memories in the next 20.